Well, welcome everyone. I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join us. My name is Suzanne Clausen, and along with my husband, I own the CruiseOne travel agency, and we are located in Sholo, Arizona. We want to first let you know that we want, as a big thank you for coming to our virtual cruise night, we will be offering a $50 onboard credit per person for any new Avalon Waterways booking in 22, 23, or 24 for any river cruise. Of course, we'd love for you to join us on our Douro River cruise. So I want to tell you a little bit about my agency. I am a full-time travel professional. This is my career. It is not a hobby. I have been doing this full-time since 2012 when I opened my franchise. I've won awards for leadership in sales and community service. And in 2020 and 2021, I had a little extra time on my hands. Can't imagine why. And I earned my Master Cruise Counselor certification from our trade organization, Cruise Line International Association. In 2022, I am one of the top franchises in the CruiseOne Dream Vacation families. My husband and I really believe in the product. We have been cruising pretty much all our lives, but in the last year, since August, we have done 12 cruises. And one of them was on Avalon Waterways. And that's where you see us there in front of that beautiful Parliament building in Budapest. Myself, I have been traveling for 47 years. I've been on 47 cruises, been to all 7 continents, and 65 countries and unique destinations. I am also an Avalon Waterways specialist. I earned my certification a couple years ago, and they are part of the Globus family of brands, which has the Globus and Cosmos. They have an independent travel brand that used to be called Monograms, but it now goes a little bit different name. But I want to introduce really quickly from Globus family of brands and Avalon Waterways, Debbie Horolino, who is my business development specialist.
Hi, everyone. Like she said, my name's Debbie. I'm actually CruiseOne's partner in crime over here in the Globus family of brands. And with Suzanne being an incredible cruise specialist, as you guys can imagine, she loves to send her clients on Avalon Waterways. So I'm very excited to be joining all of you today, just to be kind of extra eyes and ears here if you guys have any questions. And I do want to thank you all for your time and spending some time with us today to learn more about Avalon Waterways and how we can introduce this beautiful way of traveling, of river cruising through Avalon Waterways to all of you.
Thank you. Well, also on the call, but I think she's probably muted, so I'm not going to ask her to, because she's driving at the same time, is Carol Wilhelm. And she owns Wilhelm Family Vineyards in Elgin, Arizona, which is a viticultural area in Arizona. It's up in the high mountains. And she is a certified winemaker through the UC Davis wine program. She and her husband, Kevin, who serves as the vineyard manager, will be along with us on the cruise to provide more insight into our wine tasting and the winemaking experience as we do all of our tours and have our onboard tastings and meals. I always like to say that quality partners equals a quality experience. Avalon Waterways has one of the highest quality products on the river. Wilhelm Vineyards, they are a boutique award-winning winery, and I love working with partners like this because I like to present high quality products to all of my clients. So here's a little preview of the ship. It's a brand new ship. We just have renderings of it, but it's the Avalon Alegria, and our cruise will depart on June 12th, 2024. So for those of you that are new,
the Douro River is a brand new itinerary for Avalon in 24 too. So
correct. But Portugal is not new to them. Avalon has been providing in their Globus branch tours throughout Portugal for, is it almost 100 years now, Debbie?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely right. So the Globus family of brands consists of, like she said, Globus, Cosmos, and Avalon Waterways. Globus and Cosmos are going to be our land experiences. And then obviously we have Avalon Waterways that takes care of the major rivers in all of Europe. And so, yes, although Portugal is not new to the Globus family of brands, and we have many partnerships, whether it's with our hotels, our own transfers and our tour guides that we hire and use there. It is a new introduction for Avalon Waterways.
And I can really see that experience that Globus has in Portugal in the travel packet with a detailed itinerary, because you guys are taking your guests in included tours to places that some of the other river cruise lines are not bringing their guests. So really, really enriching experience that you guys have. And I think you're capitalizing on your years of experience in Europe. So let's talk a little bit, if those of you have done ocean cruising, it's a little bit different. The river cruise is really going to immerse you in the destination, and you are on smaller ships. You have very few fellow guests. The ship on the Douro only holds 102 guests. So it's a very intimate experience. So to tell us more, ladies, you will like this, is Graham McTavish to tell us a little bit more about the Avalon River Cruise
There may be
experience.
comfort in the usual,
Turn up the volume.
but true discovery and remarkable experiences are the rewards
Oops.
for the curious. They are the gifts that reside beyond the ordinary. Welcome aboard Avalon. Smaller ships, bigger experiences, fewer people, more of everything, right at your fingertips. And you wake up in the best staterooms in the business, to a new port every day, right in the heart of great cities, with nothing but possibilities ahead. Driven by out-of-the-box thinking and a relentless pursuit of better, Avalon heard the siren song to elevate cruising, and they have. So if you believe that life is worth living, not looking, memories are worth making, that better stories need better settings, and that we could all use a little different, you're ready for an Avalon cruise. Cruising Elevated.
All right, so let's dive into what this cruise is going to do. So it starts on June 12th through the 19th. It's a Douro River cruise. It's round trip from Porto. So if you book the 7-day cruise, it's going to be, you're going to fly into Porto, take the cruise from there. We also recommend that you might look at the 3-day pre-cruise extension that will take you to Lisbon and Coimbra. Coimbra. My Portuguese is terrible, so that's going to be a common theme, is when I'm trying to pronounce the names of these cities, I don't speak Portuguese at all. So here are your hosts. Steve and I will be going along as your travel agency hosts, and Kevin and Carol as your winery hosts. Now, this is the one thing that's so wonderful about the Douro River, is that most of the tours include tasting experiences, and the Douro, of course, is known for about half their production is port-styled fortified wines, but they make many, many other wines that are traditional, like table wines and even sparkling wines. So if you're not a fan of port-style wine, which is sweet, it's usually served as a dessert wine, have no fear, because there are plenty of dry and semi-dry wines that they're making in this area, in addition to the port. See, that's so funny, port. It's the port wine. I should always say that. And the new thing that Avalon is having in 2020, starting in 2023 and continuing into 2024, is every evening they'll have a complimentary happy hour of house wines, which are usually local wines, usually locally sourced, drink of the day and beer for that happy hour. And of course, beer and wine are always included with your meals on Avalon Waterways. So let's take a look. If you want to start the cruise in Lisbon, so you would fly into Lisbon. And of course, there's a lot of beautiful things to see in Lisbon. The pre-cruise tour includes a free time on your arrival day, and then some of these beautiful sites like this Belém Tower that you see here. This is the Monument of Discoveries, which is a monument that pays homage to all the Portuguese explorers that explored the world, starting like the 1600s. Also, it included excursion on day 3 to the National Royal Palace. And then on day 4, the transfer to Porto includes a stop in Coimbra, which has the oldest university in all of Portugal. So very, very nice pre-cruise tour that you can add or not add. There's a picture of that beautiful city of Coimbra. Then if you are doing the cruise only, you'll fly into Porto, Portugal, and you will go straight to your ship, have a welcome aboard reception, and the ship will remain overnight docked in Porto. The next day, you have a choice of 2 excursions. Now, Avalon is one of the few river cruise lines that gives you a choice of included excursions. And when you get your travel packet that comes with your confirmation, it lists all the details. And occasionally they do offer some additional excursions that are at a charge, but any of the time that you see Discovery or Classic, those are going to be included with the price of your cruise. Let's take a look at some of the places. This is Braga and Guimarães. There is a lot of Romanesque architecture in Braga, and there's a beautiful castle in Guimarães. You have a choice of going to either one, and you can see you won't be disappointed no matter which one you choose. The next day, the ship will sail upriver, and on the Douro, because in some spots it's very narrow, all of your sailing is during the day. So what that means is that you won't miss any of the scenery that you're sailing by because the ship is moving at night. So the ship will tie up at night. You'll be still at night. And then as soon as dawn comes up, the ship starts heading out to its next port up the river. So again, you can see some classic tours, and I'll show you a little bit more of that in this port. So Passeio da Ruga. There is an opportunity to do their discovery tour, which you will visit a farm that is known for its wine and olive oil. And then the other tour, which is the classic tour, is a tour of all this wonderful architecture in Ruga. You'll get even a taste of this little, let's see, Bolo de Lamego. See, I pronounce Portuguese with a Spanish accent because I don't know Portuguese, but also a chance, again, to try sparkling wine, even if you were doing the tour during, that is the classic tour, that's more of the architectural highlights. Now, there's also a visit to Pochinho, which is the next day. And again, you have a choice of excursions there. So with the discovery tour, you'll go see this beautiful town of Vila Nova de Foz Coa. And they have a museum there that has prehistoric rock paintings. And there apparently this was an area that a lot of prehistoric humans occupied for a very, very long time, and they were quite artistic. There's also some of these beautiful architectural feats, and the details on some of these buildings is absolutely spectacular. And again, you also have an opportunity to do wine tasting here. Then if you want to visit a little tiny village instead of one of those older towns, you can go to Freixo do Namo village, which is a little tiny village, but this particular area is home to over 100 different grape varietals. So if you think about that, we probably, all of us put together couldn't, maybe Carol, but all of us put together probably couldn't name 100 different grape varietals. So that would be very interesting if you're more into wine and agriculture than you are into architecture and prehistoric history. The next day is your chance to visit Spain. So again, the ship sails all the way up almost to the Spanish border, and then your day tour takes you into Salamanca, Spain. And Salamanca is known for its spectacular architecture and buildings. The squares are stunning. Sometimes they have art exhibits, like you see that elephant balancing on his nose. That's a temporary exhibit. If you are a bridge lover, this cruise is the cruise for you. There are so many different bridges across the Douro and the other smaller rivers that are tributaries that you'll get to see during this cruise. If again, you want to have a little bit more of a nature experience, you can go to this Douro International Nature Park. There is a small town that's located in the middle of that park. And again, you get to see some of that, gosh, it looks like medieval architecture. I'm not really sure exactly what era that tower is from, but it's definitely some pretty old historic buildings. So from all the way up to the Spanish border, then the ship turns around and you start to head back towards Porto. So a couple of ports that we'll visit on the way back are Amarante, which is known for its beautiful mountains, its riverfront houses, and its beautiful architecture. And then we'll head back to Porto on day 7, and we'll visit a couple of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. You also have an opportunity to take an active bike ride. And many times the activities host will allow you to check out the bikes in other ports as well, as there's a bicycle trail along the river. You can check out a bike and ride. It's one of the nice things about Avalon is they do have these bikes that you can check out. But one thing that I found is really interesting is that Globus is also going to give us a chance to see the more modern parts of Porto. They have one district that is famous for its graffiti art and its murals. They're also going to take us all the way to the coastal area where we can actually see the Atlantic Ocean. And then there's this famous modern avenue called Avenida de Boa Vista, where there's modern buildings. So you're not just seeing the old part, you get to see some of the new parts of Porto as well. And again, here's some pictures of the historic parts of Porto. So now I want to talk about the ship. So people who haven't done river cruising might not realize this, but all these rivers have dams along the way, and they have locks. And each river has its own set size of locks. So the ships are built to fit inside those locks and pass under the bridges. And some of the bridges on some of these rivers are really, really old bridges. So they don't have a very high clearance. So on every river, or each river, all the ships, no matter which cruise company you're sailing with, are going to be approximately the same size because they have to fit under the same bridges and through the same sets of locks. And along the way, there is a lock that has a, I can't remember exactly what it is, but I know it is the highest elevation change. It's basically like a water elevator when you go through a lock. And we'll go through, I think, 6 to 10 locks along the way as we're making our way up the river. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the Avalon difference. So there is the mock-up of what the cabins look like. There's a little mock-up of the ship, and there's a little mock-up of what the decor in the cabins is going to be. And one thing that really sets Avalon apart is their open air panoramic balconies. And I have a little video that explains why this is so much better use of space than having a traditional outside balcony.
The sweet ships of Avalon, designed from the ground up with an attention to detail river cruising has never seen before. There's nothing quite like river cruising no matter who you cruise with, but there are some pretty big differences between companies, starting with how they look at staterooms. And our one-of-a-kind panorama suite is proof of our innovation, our imagination, and our desire to create a smarter use of space. To give you some perspective of how much better our staterooms are, we're comparing them to the average river cruise cabin. Here's the average window, roughly 7 feet wide, with an opening under 4 feet. Here's our window, nearly 11 feet wide, floor to ceiling, wall to wall. And when it opens, it really opens, wide enough to let the outside in, because the opening is a full 7 feet, almost twice the size of the others. It's the largest standard window in river cruising. Now, let's take a look at the bed of the average cabin. It faces the wall, not much to look at there. We had a much better idea. What if we angled the wall and turned the bed? That little change gives you the perfect perspective of the amazing views out your window. We then turned our attention to the balcony. Here's the average river cruise balcony. Seems like a nice idea, but as far as we can tell, there's not a lot of room for people to enjoy the views out there. And they had to take space from your stateroom to create that small deck space outside. So here's our better idea. Reclaim that space, push the window out.
Oops, hang on, let me start the video again.
Add a spacious dining and seating area for up to 6 adults. Combine it with the largest sliding glass door in the business, and voila, you have an open air balcony, the only one of its kind in river cruising, and you can enjoy it day and night, no matter the weather. Plus, you'll enjoy a lot more livable space, a full 200 square feet. We gave our room an attention to detail unmatched in the industry. We offer comfort collection beds, plenty of easily accessible storage, and we even added sound dampening insulation in our walls to make it less likely you'll hear your neighbors or they'll hear you. And we didn't stop with the room. We turned that same attention to detail to the bathroom. We took a look at the bathroom of the average ship and we knew we could do better. By angling the wall, we opened up more space in the bathroom. Then we took our newfound space and we made it luxurious. We have a large tile shower with glass doors, marble countertops, premium fixtures, L'Occitane bath amenities, and shelves to store all your necessities. And the best part is that there aren't just a couple of these staterooms on our ships, reserved for those who want to pay more. 80% of the staterooms on our suite ships are panorama suites. And once you leave your suite, you're likely to find fewer people on our suite ships. Because with our bigger staterooms, there is less capacity for passengers, which means more space everywhere you go. As you can see, more has gone into the amazing panorama suites, so you can get so much more out of them. We invite you to compare, and you'll see there's no comparison.
So pretty interesting concept. I actually love the panorama suite. Now, she says there's no comparison, but let's compare. This is a panorama suite that is on an Avalon Waterways. It is a full 200 square feet. And look at that bathroom. It is such a game changer, large bathroom. This is a leading competitor's suite. Their standard balcony has that space outside. As you can see, it's hardly, you can't even sit facing straight out. You have to put your chairs facing in to have room for your knees. And that is 185 square feet, including the balcony. And the French balconies are only 150 square feet. So you have a lot more livable space, like she said in the video. This is a picture of our suite when we cruised the Danube in October of last year. And I have pictures of the storage. There was plenty of storage. I think we brought way too much stuff. We're going to try to pack a little lighter this week. And then look at that bathroom. I have to tell you, that full-size bathroom is possibly the best bathroom in all of cruising, not just river cruising. It is a large bathroom and you can actually fit, you know, 2 people could be in there brushing their teeth at the same time and taking turns with the sink without bumping elbows. There's a lot of room in there. It's very nice. If you are in a little bit more tight budget, there are these lower level rooms that have the fixed window. The new mock-up shows those facing the window, which is very nice, with the large bathroom. They're a little bit smaller, 172 square feet, but this is a little bit more budget friendly. And Debbie and I were talking at the beginning. You can enjoy the panoramas of the river even if you have one of these cabins, because the public spaces have all these panoramic windows where you can go sit and have a cup of coffee or even go up on top. So don't feel like you're selling yourself too short if this is the type of cabin that's within your budget. This is a mock-up of the top deck of the ship. They are actually going to have a pool. It is a little bit of a little plunge pool up there on the top deck. And there's covered areas where you can be out of the sun and enjoying your cruise through the river. And we're hoping that in June, you know, we're gonna have warm, sunny days. It'll be beautiful to sit out there. It's not super hot. I mean, the highs are usually in the mid 70s during June on the Douro River. Now, this is pictures from the Avalon Envision that we cruised on last October, but it kind of gives you an idea of the decor and the feel. This is the observation lounge that's on the back of the ship, and Alegria will have that same type of lounge there. And there's 24 hours snacks, juice, water. They have infused flavored waters where you can fill up your own water bottle and have these wonderful waters. But we talked about the panoramic views. So this is the panoramic lounge that's on the front of the ship. So if you are sitting anywhere in this room, you're going to have those lovely river views from here. They also have a gymnasium, and there's my husband, Steve. He was being so good. He's working out on the treadmill. And a picture of the dining room. That was actually the evening that we recognized all the staff at the end of the cruise. And in the afternoon, in what they call the Panorama Bistro, there is snacks. And you can actually, if you want to have a more casual dining experience in the evening, you can eat in the Panorama Bistro. But we'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to the food section. So now we're going to talk really quickly about those different types of excursions. Now, when I went through the itinerary, I talked about the classic and the discovery, and there were maybe one or two that were mentioned as active, but I'll talk about it. So a classic tour, and these are pictures from Budapest, obviously. I mean, this is not the Douro. They're not even sailing on the Douro yet, but I wanted to give you an example. So our classic tour of Budapest included like a panorama of the city. And then we got to stop on the Pest side of the river, take pictures of the Parliament building, take pictures of the castles that are up there. That is an example of a classic tour. This next tour was also in Budapest. It was a discovery tour. It was a wine tasting tour in the countryside outside of Budapest. And then I have an example of an active type tour. We were in Dürnstein, Austria, and our hike was up to the ruined castle, which is where Richard the Lionhearted was imprisoned during the Middle Ages. And you can see in this, where on that bottom slide where I have the winery, it was a nice hike up the hill. We were led by a local guide, and our activities host also went with us. And, you know, we had some people that were in their late 60s that did that hike. It wasn't just all young people like us in our 50s. So let's talk about dining. So there's lots of choices for dining on Avalon. You can dine in the main dining room. Generally, the seating time is kind of flexes with the itinerary, but it's generally from about 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. When days they have the nice weather, they have alfresco dining in the Sky Grill. You can also get room service, but if you want to have a less formal meal, you know, don't want all the pomp and circumstance, you can eat in the Panorama Bistro. It is the same menu as in the regular dining room, but depending on what you want to do that night, that might be a better fit. And I want to talk about Avalon Fresh. That is their culinary program with local fresh ingredients. So Avalon Fresh, it emphasizes local, healthy, fresh ingredients. They're sourcing their food from the terroir that we're actually sailing through. So you really get that full feel of Portugal while you're on the cruise ship. The menu was designed by these two chefs who own a vegetarian restaurant, but everything is not vegetarian, but they own a vegetarian restaurant in Vienna that's very popular. And it's built on the philosophy that if it's local and fresh and locally sourced, you're going to get the brightest, freshest flavors in your food. And they say it's food so healthy, so delicious, you won't know it's healthy. These are examples of regional specialties. Now, my river cruise was on the Danube last year. So obviously they're not going to have Austrian and Hungarian specialties on the Douro. They're going to have some Portuguese specialties, but these are just some of the examples of what they served. There's the Wiener Schnitzel when we were in Vienna. Those are cabbage rolls that I had in Budapest. And I have to tell you, the savory pumpkin schnitzel, or strudel that you see right here, was absolutely delicious. Lunch and breakfast are a buffet, and it's usually local favorites. So you can see they had Hungarian goulash here and potatoes. They had a carving station, sandwiches, just about anything you could want. And when we arrived in Bavaria, they had a Bavarian lunch for us. So obviously they're not going to be that much of a difference because we're all in port, but we will definitely get to try the flavors of Portugal on board the ship. We're not going to be limited to just a fixed continental menu that would be the same as what they're serving in France and the Danube. It is going to be a menu designed around the Douro. And starting in 2023, complimentary house wine, beer, and drink of the day for 1 hour, usually in like that hour before dinner starts. And usually that's when the cruise manager is talking to you, telling you about what to expect for the next day, maybe doing a little presentation on what we're going to see, that kind of thing. And air. So you can choose to book your air through Avalon's air program. You choose your routing and the carrier that best meets your needs. Transfers are included when you book Avalon and you don't deviate from the arrival and the departure date. The good thing about the cruise overnighting in Porto, the first night, you don't have to be worried about if your flight is a little bit late and missing the ship. Even if you did miss the ship, you just call the cruise manager and you drive down the river and they find another place to pick you up. But it's overnights that first night. So you could arrive in Porto the day of, especially if your vacation time is limited. The air is available for booking 11 months before the cruise, and it requires an additional deposit to secure your air reservation, but you pay for it in full with your final payment. So pricing, this is the big one. So now remember, this is a 102 passenger cruise ship. This is price per person based on 2 guests in a cabin. So the D and the E are the fixed window cabins, and the B, A, and P are all the panorama suites. The category P, panorama suites, are up on deck 3, and the category A and B are on deck 2. D and E are on deck 1. We're going to have some of the amenity we have for our group is you get free prepaid gratuities. So you do not owe any gratuities for your hotel and dining staff on the ship. We will have some private group onboard events. We envision Steve and Carol and Kevin and I picking out some local wines, and then we can go up on the top deck and do our own little private wine tasting up there, or in that back panoramic lounge, the one that faces the back. And Carol is going to be along to share her enthusiasm and her expertise for all kinds of wine. And Carol does make both port and regular table wines. I'm not sure exactly, dry wines as well. So additional information.
Well, not Suzanne, you talk about the extension there too.
The extension, I talked to the at the beginning, the price of the extension. Okay, yeah, let me go back. Okay, so the price of the Lisbon extension, that 3-day one that I showed the very first couple of slides, is $8.99 per person, and that would be in addition to these prices. It is your choice whether to add it or not. Steve and I want to see Lisbon. We've never been to Portugal, so we have added that for ourselves. All right, additional information. So starting in March of 2023, vaccinations will no longer be required to sail with Avalon. Somebody said, why not until then? Well, they finish out the season at Christmas and New Year's of this year. So it's just kind of at the start of the new season because they start sailing again in March. January and February, the river cruise season is kind of closed. There's no testing required to board an Avalon cruise, no testing required to come to the US, and masks are not required on the ship or in any public venues in Portugal. And hopefully by 2024, people will say, COVID, what? I've never even heard of it. So if the Douro is not the river for you, I want to let you know that Avalon Waterways has, Avalon Waterways has cruises on all the major rivers in Europe. They do Belgium and the Netherlands, they do the Rhine, they do France, and the one that we're doing next week is going to be going from Croatia to the Black Sea, right here, and we will go to Brasov and Bucharest. So lots of different ways to explore Europe through Avalon Waterways. We are doing some other escorted cruises. I mentioned the one we're leaving next week. It's probably a little too late to get you on that one, but be sure to we'll send out an email or post to our Facebook page when we've got our blog finished, and you'll be able to check that cruise out online. Then in October of 2023, if you can't wait till 2024, we'd love for you to join us. We are doing a wine lovers cruise through Burgundy and Provence. And that one, we're partnering with our friends from Ascension Cellars, which is the Paso Robles winery. And we are escorting both of those cruises. And then some of our ocean cruises, we are doing with Wilhelm Vineyards, a 14-night Antarctica cruise from Buenos Aires on January 28th. I still have 3 cabins left on that. March of 19 and 26 of 2023, we are hosting a back-to-back customer appreciation cruises on Celebrity Cruises. And then we have several cruises in Europe, and these are ocean cruises on Celebrity's newest ships. Steve and I are also into the explorers and the exotic cruises. Of course, we can book you to Alaska just about any time. The Arctic Circle in June of 2011, we are doing a 21-night cruise that goes there. We're also doing an expedition cruise that goes to Greenland and Canadian Arctic. And then in October of 24, we're doing an expedition cruise that's French Polynesia and Chile. Oh, so we really want you to come on this one because, as you can see, the enrichment program, the wonderful places that we will see along the Douro, the experiences we will have with the food and the wine are really going to make this the trip of a lifetime. We're escorting the cruise. There's only 102 cabins. Oh, excuse me, not even 102. There's 51 cabins on the ship. So space is really limited. I encourage you, this will sell out. There are several of these sailings that are already sold out for 2024. So I encourage you, if you are at all interested, this is the time to book. It is a $500, not per person, it's $250 per person, non-refundable deposit. And but if you book it now, you're going to ensure that you're going to get the best cabin and the best pricing because we have our group discounts and the prepaid gratuities. Let's see. And also a reminder that if you book by October 31st, you will receive an additional $50 per person onboard credit for new bookings for attending this virtual cruise night. I'm Suzanne and my husband is Steve. We own CruiseOne Sholo. And I just wanted to see if there's any questions. I think I'll stop sharing my screen so I can see everyone.
Everybody is muted, so if you want to
Everyone's
unmute yourself,
muted.
hold the space bar down like here.
Hold the space bar down if you have questions. Oh, hi, Carol. Oh, we can't hear you,
Muted,
Carol. You're muted, Carol.
There I go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I thought I'd pull over and so I could say hi to everybody. I am still in my car, but I am not actually driving. So I wanted to give everybody a chance to see a face with the name that she's been talking about. Suzanne, Steve, you've done a super job with this Zoom meeting. It's so exciting. So.
Yeah, I'm excited. So Steve and I and Kevin and Carol already have our cabins booked and deposited. So we're just ready for everyone to join with us.
Dick.
When is final payment?
Final payment is 90 days before the cruise departs. They are not like that other guy that makes you pay 18 months, a year in advance. No, 90 days before departure. And somebody asked, I just had a message. Let me pull up my chat. I just saw in the chat, someone asked how many people on the boat. 102 passengers on the boat, 51 cabins available. Most of them are the panoramic suites, but there are a limited number of those deluxe rooms with the fixed window down below.
Suzanne, it looks like you have a question about single travelers too, or solo travelers.
Do you want to field that? Because currently this cruise does not have a single, no single supplement promotion on it. And I wouldn't imagine it would. Can you give me some insight on that?
Yeah, that's correct. So across the board with Avalon Waterways, you're not going to find any solo cabins. And I'm just mentioning this because if some of you are familiar with ocean cruising, you know, some of the ocean cruise liners actually have cabins that are specifically made now for solo travelers. So that's not something that you'll find on Avalon Waterways. What we have is you will, you'll essentially be in the same cabin, and there is what's called a solo traveler supplement that tends to range between 175 to maybe 180% of the cruise fare amount. So based off of Suzanne's quotes that she gave earlier, I think if you're coming, if you're thinking about coming on as a solo traveler, you just need to call Suzanne or Steve or send them an email to check out the single supplement cost on that.
And I don't expect with this Douro ship having such limited capacity and with it being the only one that you would ever offer a no single supplement promotion. But sometimes on some sailings, so it may not be this sailing, but if you're interested in Avalon and doing the Danube or the Rhine or the Rhone and the Saône, sometimes there are specific dates where there is no single supplement.
Yes,
So
that's
that it,
correct.
so like when I showed that big map, there are sometimes that they will have that as promotional. Not, I don't think it's ever going to be offered on the Douro until you guys get about 5 or 6 ships on there, and then
Right.
maybe you'll be able to offer it.
Exactly.
But because the capacity is so limited, so let's see. Somebody asked if they could get a copy of the PowerPoint. We'll do even better than that. We are going to email you a copy of the video. So we recorded this session. We will email it to you, and then you can freeze it. So if there's a slide you want to look at a little bit longer and study it, you can do that as well. Also, anybody who is interested in, I'll go ahead and show this. Hopefully it'll show. This is the travel packet. I can email this to anybody. It's actually the one that goes with my reservation, but it details every day what you do in each port. And of course, I covered just the highlights in the presentation, because if I read everything in this thing, it'd be long gone. But what I like to do when I look at something like that is read the description of something and then Google it and look at a picture of it and go, oh gosh, I want to see that. That's a really good way to learn about the itinerary.
Suzanne?
I had a question.
Robin, you had a question? Yeah.
Actually, Rose does.
Oh, hi, Rose.
Do you find that on these river cruises, you see a lot of kids running around? These suites look very small and not very child friendly to people.
It would be a rare occurrence to ever see a child on a river cruise.
Yes.
A rare occurrence.
Okay.
There is another cruise line that partners with Vacations by Disney, and they do have some more family friendly itineraries, but it is a very rare occasion to see a child because there are no triple occupancy cabins. So if you're paying $8,000 for you and your spouse, and then you're paying another $8,000 for your kid, and then you're probably paying another $8,000 for your nanny who's going to take care of the kids.
That's the only
But
question.
yeah, they are only double occupancy, so you will not hardly ever see kids.
Do these packages also come with trip insurance? And are these trip insurances all encompassing for any disaster that could possibly happen on the planet between now and then?
So I'll talk a little bit about the policy we sell, and then Debbie can talk about the policy that Avalon has. So you have a choice of booking it either way. At CruiseOne, we carry a cancel for emergency policy that also includes a pretty high level of medical coverage while you're on the trip. It is canceled for your own personal emergency. So to give you an example, in 2020, when people were afraid of COVID, that was not an included reason. But if you had COVID, It was an included reason.
Mhm.
So it's can't, and there's some other reasons besides illness. I mean, it's like death in the family, your house burns down, your death of a business partner, things like that are covered. And also it gives you medical coverage while you're on the trip. And then Debbie, if you could talk a little bit about yours, because it is the same company, it's just a slightly different policy.
Right. So our policy is just a little bit different. It's always going to cover you for medical emergencies that happen for you, your travel companion, and family members that go up to, I think, your children, your parents, and cousins as well. So that's always going to be covered with Avalon's insurance. But what's a little bit different from the one from ours is that we also include what's called cancel for any reason when you purchase our insurance. The cancel for any reason is, we're just going to use COVID as an example because it's the best example for us to give at this point, is I'm afraid of COVID, something has happened and I just don't want to go anymore. So about 60 to 90 days prior to your departure, you can actually cancel your reservation and file a claim for cancel for any reason, and you'll actually receive a credit back. So it's not actual money that you'll be getting back if you cancel for any reason. And canceling for any reason, by the way, is just anything that isn't already covered as a covered reason, right? So
Yeah.
I'm having a bad hair day. I don't want to get up.
I have an elderly dog that hasn't passed on yet.
Exactly. So you'll get a credit versus getting cash back than you will, for a covered reason. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention too is that with Avalon's insurance, it's only going to cover the activities and experiences that you book through Avalon. Meaning, if you were to purchase the 3-night pre in Lisbon transfers and the cruise, and then you purchase our insurance, but you book air separately, whether you book it, yourself, or you have Suzanne and Steve book it separate from Avalon and using Avalon's resources, we're only covering you for what you've booked with Avalon, right? So you'll have to get a separate insurance. So I like to just mention that just so that that kind of nips it in the bud. And that if my rule of thumb is that if you're going to book everything through Avalon, just purchase the insurance through Avalon. Our pricing is much better than what you can get, doing third party, just because of the relationship that we have with Aon Insurance. And I like to say, unfortunately, or fortunately, we're kind of like fine wines. As we get more mature in our life, we're more expensive to insure, and we just cost a little more, right? So we're trying to get as much of a discount or fair price as possible. If you're going to book anything outside of this, so let's say you do the 3-night pre-extension in Lisbon, but at the tail end you decide, hey, Suzanne, Steve, we actually want to spend a little bit more time in Europe, and we want to go to France, or we want to go to Spain, right? We want to go to Barcelona, and you book that separate from Avalon, then that's when I would suggest that you book a third-party insurance through Suzanne and Steve.
And anything you purchase, whether I book the air for you or you just go on the airline's website and you book it, I can add that to my ticket and cover it. It bumps up the price. But as long as you have the core of the booking booked with me, I can add any add-ons and cover it. Carol had a good question that came up in the chat. She wanted to know how much time in port. And it's in here, the whole schedule is, but they don't really give you the hours, but we are docked overnight in little towns all along the river. So If you want to get out and go for an evening stroll in these little towns, you're welcome to get off the ship at night. You just need to make sure you get back before the ship leaves in the morning. But yes, and there's extensive time in port. In the travel packet, it does say enjoy free time in the port, this. And river cruising can be very fluid. Sometimes your cruise manager will have a sit down with everybody and get a consensus of when we want to leave and when we want to be at the next place. So you'll never see a time schedule on a river cruise itinerary because it is fluid. And it also, I think, depends on maybe even some tidal issues or how the river is flowing or expecting rain. So it is very fluid. And locks, you have to go through those locks. Again, in this one, we got to go in the greatest elevation change in Europe in a single lock. So that's very exciting. There's just a
About
lot of
70
really
meters
neat
tall.
stuff to enjoy. Yeah, 70, it's pretty high, pretty high. And I can't see the chat because of the way I have my system set up. Let me see if I can pull up the chat. There we go, it came up. Oh, somebody said confirming this is 24, not 23. So the first sailing of this ship will be in 2024. It makes its debut in, is it March or April of 2024?
I think it's April.
Okay. If you can't wait until 2024, there's that whole map of Europe. I can put you on another Avalon cruise in 2023. Yes. Oh, somebody asked about onboard entertainment. So we didn't really talk about that. So one of the things that they're going to do on this cruise is in Porto, they will bring a fado musical group on board to sing for us. Sometimes the cruise manager will have people that she knows along the river that can come along. We had one night in Austria, of all places, we had a guy that played the guitar and sang country western music for us. He was in Neil Diamond songs. He was a lot of fun. Usually there is a piano player who knows a multitude of songs. I think our entertainment program might have been slightly reduced because we had 36 guests on my cruise last year. Maybe Debbie can fill us in a little bit more on the types of evening entertainment that you can expect on a river cruise.
Yes, absolutely. So we'd like to focus on that immersion, right? So like Suzanne said, we'll bring on it won't be more than a quartet of either a dancer, like on mine. We might have had the same country singer on our cruises, Suzanne. But we had we did actually have someone come on that was completely country music, and he was from New Zealand.
It was the same guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which I thought was very random that he was just in the middle of the Wachau Valley, just living there, but and singing great country music. But we've got fun entertainment like that. We'll bring on a dancer here or there, and I can't imagine that sailing on the Douro, you won't see some sort of dance duo come on board the ship as well. And then as far as the commentary on route, where, your cruise directors may be explaining where you're going. So yes, that definitely does happen. You'll be in, there might be a time where the cruise director will invite everyone on the ship to come onto the sky deck. And he or she will sit in the captain's area with the microphone to tell everyone what they're seeing, what they can expect in the next port. And then that's also why those cruise director meetings during the happy hour is really important to attend as well. I learned that the hard way the first 2 days of my cruise, because I realized I had no idea what was happening, because like Suzanne said, there are no postings of times anywhere except for on the televisions. It will tell you where you're supposed to be and about an approximate time that lunch and dinner will be. But I realized that I had no idea what was going on. And when I asked, I was scolded a little bit by the people, by the crew members, saying, Debbie, you're supposed to be going to the cruise director meetings. That's why it's an hour before dinner. And after I started doing that, I knew exactly what was happening every day. And the cruise director will take that time to also explain, maybe bring somebody on board, like Suzanne said, to sort of talk to you guys about this is what you can expect tomorrow as far as the excursions. And if you're deciding to maybe just walk around yourself and you don't want to do an excursion, where you should go to have a cup of coffee, or maybe to go get that Facebook ready photo for all your friends to see. So those are the things that you can expect on board Avalon Waterways.
Okay, so I think it's Carol. She had a question. Is there any nightlife? So definitely
Kevin,
in
by the way.
Porto. Oh, who's that? Oh, that's Kevin. Okay, definitely in Porto, there is going to be nightlife that you can get off the ship and go see. And we spend 3 nights in Porto, or is it 2? I think it's 2. One at the beginning and one at the end. Some of the other places will be sleepy little communities, and a couple of them are kind of mid-sized. So there might be a little bit of nightlife in some of those mid-sized communities. Wi-Fi, yes, everybody gets free Wi-Fi on the ship. It works in your stateroom or in the public areas. So I bring my laptop and run my business when I'm on a river cruise, and it's great because I don't have to spend $300 or $400 or $500 buying the premium Wi-Fi that I do on ocean cruising. So Wi-Fi is included. Is there a refrigerator in the cabin?
Yes, there
Yes.
is. It's a mini
There is.
fridge. It's not going to keep your ice cream frozen. It will keep your drinks very cold though. And if you have a snack or two that you wanted to keep, you can definitely keep it in the mini fridge that's in the cabin. I also wanted to mention about the Wi-Fi, because if you're like me, I can't spend a second without my phone and being connected to my family, especially when I'm traveling. So what's great about Avalon is we actually have these little devices called whisperers. And these are going to be the devices that you'll use during your shore excursions. Yes.
Okay,
Sometimes
you get a
they'll
bit.
put little mints on your pillows. It's actually little pieces of chocolates.
I was like, Kevin, if that's going to make a difference on anybody, if that's going to make a difference, I'll go and buy mints and
Yeah.
give them out to everybody. And mints.
Well, you get chocolate.
That's great.
That's so funny.
Oh,
But
and
the-
also the televisions.
Go
I
back to the
forgot to
whisper.
mention.
Finish the
Oh,
whisper
go
thought.
back to the whisper. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Debbie.
So just quickly about the whisperers, they are the transmitters that you'll use. You'll hook them up to your earpiece, and that's how you hear your guide. But they're also Wi-Fi hotspots. So wherever you're going, off of the ship, you'll always have a Wi-Fi hotspot with you as long as you have the whisper device.
All right.
I didn't know
And I
that.
want to talk about the televisions. The televisions have multiple, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 channels, and they're English language.
Yes.
So there is television. The electric plugs, though, are European. Is that going to be the same on this ship?
Yes, that's
So
going to be the
yeah,
same
so
on
you
this
need to
ship as
bring a
well.
little converter, but you can get one from the front desk if you didn't think to bring one. So there are hair dryers in the room. That's important. And what is the bath amenity company? It's a nice one. L'Occitane, yeah.
Yeah.
So shampoo, lotion, conditioner from L'Occitane. Beautiful, beautiful bathrooms. I tell you, those bathrooms are a game changer. Okay, if you are interested, what do you need to do? So on all the emails you've gotten from me, my phone number is on there. So you're going to call me. I'm going to answer any more questions that you might have about the cruise. And we will put a cabin on hold for you. Remember, it's a $250 non-refundable deposit. And you do not have to make final payment until 90 days before this cruise. They're not going to make you pay a year in advance, which is very nice. Do we have any other questions?
I think there was just one more about communicating effectively in English.
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
everyone on board speaks English.
And the tour manager will either be somebody who is like certified fluent in English or an American. Our tour manager for our Budapest to Dagendorf cruise last year was an American who had been living in Budapest for about 10 or 15 years and been with Globus Avalon for years as a tour manager. So she was an American to begin with, but all the wait staff, a lot of the wait staff are international. I think they're from Philippines, some from Europe. So you get a wide variety of different people working, some from Eastern Europe. I imagine we'll have some Portuguese, probably employees on this cruise. So a wide variety and staff, but yes, everyone speaks English. So no trouble getting around, and all your tour guides. So you'll have your tour manager, but in each port, when you take a tour, whether it be a walking tour or a coach tour, you will have a local expert who will be your tour guide. And they are fluent in English and will give you these fantastic insights to all the places that you're seeing. So much more than you would get if you were just walking around in town with a guidebook in your hand. All right.
Any last minute questions? It is 5 o'clock.
It's 5 o'clock. Yeah, we don't want to keep you too long.
Unless you have questions.
Don't you mean it's 8 o'clock?
Well, it depends on what time zone. What time zone are you in? Yeah. Dennis,
Eastern.
what time zone are we in, Dennis?
Good job, Suzanne.
It's
Thanks.
an inside joke between me and Dennis because he got confused between Arizona time and Pacific time and Mountain time. For a lot. So I told Steve on this one, put Pacific time, Arizona time, and Mountain time. That was. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and stop the recording, and then we'll just leave it open for one more